Have you ever felt like you were meant for something more? Like there was another world just waiting for you to discover it? That's exactly how Qalbaz felt. Every single day, he lived in a quiet, ordinary town where the biggest news was a cat getting stuck in a tree. But Qalbaz, he dreamed of adventure. He spent his days exploring the dusty corners of his town, the forgotten alleys, and the overgrown paths that nobody else bothered with. He was a cartographer of the mundane, always hoping his maps would lead him somewhere extraordinary. One scorching afternoon, while exploring the crumbling ruins of an old clock tower on the edge of town, he noticed something strange. Behind a thick curtain of ivy, a section of the stone wall didn't quite match the rest. It was smoother, with faint, almost invisible lines etched into its surface. His heart began to pound. With trembling hands, he pushed aside the ivy and traced the lines. They formed the unmistakable shape of a door. There was no handle, no knob, no keyhole, just a perfect, seamless outline. Driven by a surge of excitement he'd never known, Qalbaz pushed against the stone. Nothing! He pushed harder, leaning his whole body into it. The stone didn't budge. He spent hours examining it, looking for a hidden switch or a secret lever, but found nothing. As the sun began to set, casting long, eerie shadows across the ruins, Qalbaz felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. Was this just another dead end? Another trick of the light? Dejected, he placed his hand flat against the center of the stone door, ready to give up and go home. And then, he felt it. A low, soft hum, vibrating through the stone and up his arm. Curiosity overpowering his frustration, he pressed his ear to the door. The humming grew louder, a melodic, rhythmic pulse, like a giant, sleeping heart. He closed his eyes, focusing on the sound, and a strange thing happened. Images began to flash through his mind. Swirling galaxies of colors he'd never seen. Forests with trees that glowed with an inner light, and creatures that looked like they were woven from starlight and shadows. It was a world of pure magic, a world from his wildest dreams. He realized the door wasn't opened by force, but by connection. He had to match its frequency to understand its song. He stood there for what felt like an eternity, humming along with the stone, trying to find the right pitch. He tried high notes, low notes, letting his own voice join the ancient melody. He poured all his hope, all his longing for adventure into that sound. And then, it happened. His voice locked in perfect harmony with the door's vibration. A brilliant, golden light erupted from the seams of the door, pushing him back. The ancient stone silently swung inward, revealing not darkness, but a breathtaking cascade of shimmering, swirling light. It was a portal. Stepping through felt like diving into a warm, sparkling river. The air on the other side was different. It smelled of night blooming flowers and damp earth, of ozone and something ancient and sweet. Before him lay a valley, bathed in the soft glow of the twin moons. The trees, just as he'd seen in his vision, posed with a soft, blue light. Strange, wonderful creatures with wings like dragonfly lace flitted through the air, leaving trails of golden dust. This wasn't just another world. It was a world alive with magic. Qalbaz took a deep breath, his heart swelling with a joy so pure it almost hurt. This was it. This was the adventure he had been searching for his entire life. He had no map, no guide, and no idea what dangers or wonders awaited him. But for the first time, he felt truly, completely alive. He looked back at the shimmering portal, the doorway to his old life, then turned his gaze to the magical valley before him. He took his first step into the unknown, a wide, unstoppable grin spreading across his face. His real story was just beginning. But adventures are never that simple, are they? As he ventured deeper, he discovered this beautiful world was in peril. A creeping, silent shadow was slowly draining the light from the land, turning the glowing trees dark and the sparkling rivers murky. The magical creatures grew weak and fearful. Qalbaz learned from a wise, ancient being who resembled a walking willow tree that this shadow was a manifestation of apathy and despair, a force that fed on lost hope. It was a blight that had once threatened his own world, before magic faded from it entirely. The willow being explained that the door had chosen Qalbaz not just because he sought adventure, but because he possessed an unyielding spark of hope, a belief in the extraordinary. That was a key, not just to opening the door, but to saving this world. He was told he had to find the heart of the forest, a legendary crystal that amplified positive energy, and reignite it with his own hope before the shadow consumed everything. The journey would be treacherous, guarded by illusions born of fear and doubt, the very things the shadow fed on. Qalbaz accepted the quest without hesitation. He faced his deepest fears in the whispering labyrinth, a maze that shifted and changed, confronting him with visions of his lonely life back home, of failure and mockery. He nearly gave into despair, but the memory of the twin moons and the glowing trees gave him strength. He navigated the murky river of sorrow, where the water showed him his past regrets, tempting him to sink into apathy. But he pushed forward, focusing on the future he was fighting for. He wasn't just on an adventure anymore. He was a guardian. He was fighting for a world that had shown him that magic was real. Finally, he reached a dark, silent cavern. In the center, on a pedestal of black rock, sat the heart of the forest. It was a large crystal, but it was completely dark, its light extinguished. The shadow coalesced around him, whispering into his mind that his quest was pointless, that one person's hope was too small to make a difference. It told him to give up, to accept the inevitable darkness. For a moment, Qalbaz faltered. The weight of two worlds felt too heavy to bear. But then he remembered the feeling of the door humming under his hand, the pure joy of stepping into a new world. He remembered that hope wasn't about certainty. It was about believing in possibility, even in the dark. He placed his hands on the cold crystal. He closed his eyes and poured every ounce of his being into it. Not just his hope for adventure, but his love for the beauty he had found, his determination to protect it, and his unwavering belief that even the smallest light can push back the greatest darkness. The crystal began to flicker, a tiny spark at first, then a soft glow. The shadow shrieked, lashing out at him, but he held on. He thought of his quiet town, and how maybe, just maybe, he could bring a little of this magic back with him. The glow intensified, growing brighter and brighter until it exploded in a blinding wave of pure, white light, vaporizing the shadow and flooding the cavern. The light shot out from the cave, racing across the land, reigniting the trees, clearing the rivers, and bringing life and color back to the world. Qalbaz emerged from the cavern, weary but triumphant. The world was vibrant and alive once more. The magical creatures danced around him in celebration. He had done it. He hadn't just found another world. He had saved it. He returned to the glowing mossy hill where the portal waited. The willow being was there, and it bowed its branches to him. It told him that the door would always be open for him, that he was now a part of both worlds. Qalbaz knew he would return, but for now, he was ready to go home. Stepping back through the portal, he found himself back in the dusty ruins of the clock tower. The sun was rising, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Everything looked the same, but for Qalbaz, everything was different. He carried the magic of another world within him. He was no longer just Qalbaz, the boy who dreamed of adventure. He was Qalbaz, the hero who walked between worlds, a cartographer who had finally found the place he was always meant to be. And he knew, with absolute certainty, that his greatest adventures were still ahead.